That's me in the corner. You started recording too fast.
That's you in the spotlight.
That's me in the spotlight.
You have to get to. We were just speaking about Alex Ross lighting, so Awestruck
Yes.
Comic Podcast.
My daughter,
So
it's
jumping
funny.
right into it.
I love when my daughters love old songs that we love, which, by the way, my daughters love like everything I love.
Mm,
But like, they got into that REM song, Losing My Religion, which was like the biggest song of what, 1991? It
I
was
think so.
just
Yeah, yeah.
everywhere. Remember, you go to like the Deptford skating and you could, they play it. Deptford skating rink was like the skating rink everyone in Deptford went to all summer
Right.
because our school would give us like 10 free passes to go.
Mm,
Like, so everyone went there, free passes. I think it was like
that's
$1 to
not.
rent skates.
Yeah,
And
I
there were
remember
these
we
ugly
had like a school
brown
trip.
skates with the with
Hmm
the bright orange wheels. Fun
Oh, I got
times.
lots of memories. I got lots of memories there. I remember holding on to. I wasn't a very good skater, so I remember one time, this girl Jen, she asked me to if I wanted to like, what was it like? They had like a slow dance or something,
Yeah,
right? So you
yeah,
basically can
the
go out
slope.
there,
You got there and hold
right?
hands and skate
Yeah, yeah,
around.
yeah. But I couldn't. But she's like, I'll just. And she was such a good, like, roller skater. She went backwards. I remember like her one leg was straight and her one leg would go like this, her one foot, so that way she can propel us. And I'm just holding on to her, like, I don't, please don't fall, please
Please
don't
don't kill
fall.
me.
And went
I
around like
got
three times, and I'm like, all right, you know,
I got really good at roller skating forward, but I just never I could never skate backwards.
no,
It was just something that
no,
it's probably real simple. It's probably like if I actually tried it, I probably could have did it. And I
yeah,
probably haven't roller skated in like 10 years. Because the older kids, like, I think Vicky had a skating party one time, and, I'm like, can I still do it? I'm like, I can. These wheels can support me, you
these
know?
wheels can support me. I think that's the whole thing. Is I don't know, it's not good. I went ice skating a couple years ago, and it was pretty good actually.
Yeah.
Wasn't too bad. So, but
Good.
All Stars Comics podcast, we did it again. Another week, another fighting with the computer in the morning. It's always, I don't know how to sync things from things. I had to go into my iCloud through Safari, and I don't know, man.
Sure.
Things are just, I think everything is just so contracted. Like everything I looked up is like, you want this software to clean your Mac? You want this? I'm like, no, I just want to
Oh.
know how to make things faster. I don't understand. I should be
What
able to do
what
things.
programs
And I
can I
check.
jam up my computer with to make it go
Yeah,
faster? None of them
I
make it go
double
faster.
checked and I had like 800 gigabytes free. That should be pretty good. No? Like, is that not enough free?
No.
803
I
gigabytes?
got I got a terabyte and a half free on my computer. And it's like, well, it's also 12 years old, so I'm
Yeah.
lucky, very
Anyway,
lucky. We're gonna take all this podcasting money that we don't make and buy new
yes.
computers this year. That's the goal.
And then write them off.
Write them
Tax
off.
season. Tax season. So let me get
LLC,
into
Awestruck Comics
some
LLC.
plugs. Pretty fun. Let's get into plugs. Hold on one second. Plugs time, everybody.
So it's Awestruck News, everyone. We're here to bring you the news, all the comic news that we love.
Oh, plugs.
No dead air. No dead air.
All right, let's do the plugs. Here we go. This is your stuff
All right, right off the bat here. This
for
is
the
Rob
week.
Messick. This is me on Twitter, talking about things I
76,
find in comics.
not
No, it's not
76.
76. Not 76. I was wrong. It's just Rob Messick. It's just my name. Um, so we're talking about this week. We're talking about the first Youngblood yearbook that Chap Yape drew, and in the back they had a bunch of pinups, and this one's by Jason Pearson, um, who we sadly lost, a little bit ago. He was only 53, which is like tragic.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, he was a guy that came out of comics just guns firing. Like he was there on Legion, and then like quickly he did a Youngblood pinup and Vanguard 2 and a Youngblood Strike File. He did the Savage Dragon. I forget which miniseries it's what's called, but he did the Savage Dragon
Blood, yeah, it
miniseries.
was like Blood and Guts or something like
I
that.
think it was Blood and Guts, and then he did body bags for Dark Horse. They did a Blanc Noir. Is that the name of the? They kind of did their own little Dark Horse
Yeah, it was some
section
of like the guys. I don't know if he was
line.
technically a Gaijin guy, Gaijin Studios. So
I
it was
feel like
like,
he was.
Tony Harris, Cully Hamner, Brian
Right, right.
Stelfreeze. So a lot of those guys were, I think, initially in there. There used to be different books where it was like produced by Gaijin
Joe
Studios.
Joe Phillips too.
Joe
Remember he
Phillips,
did
yeah.
Heretic. Heretic was a good
Mhm.
comic. Well, body bags with Jason Pearson stuff, and and if you look up his commissions online, you will see some amazing artwork, just like amazing. So this one got a lot of heat. People talk about Jason Pearson. A lot of people didn't know. First off, they didn't know that he drew this because his name's kind of hidden in the wall. But
Oh, I see. Yeah.
a lot of people didn't know he was dead. It's
Oh, when
crazy
you
because
in response to this, you mean?
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Uh, it's weird because you think fans are always informed because we've always been informed, but a lot of them are just sitting there and they enjoy the comics. They're not into the weeds like we are. Like people
Right.
didn't know that he was passed. Um, Liefeld told a story about Alan Moore's Blackest Night short story from Green Lantern Corps annual from like 1986, and nobody knew that that's the basis for like Jeff Johns' craziest stories. The Blackest Night story had a basis in a short story, and
Kind of
nobody knew this.
kind of everything post in a way, like all that. Even
There's
this
a
week's Green Lantern has stuff about like the emotional spectrum and stuff. Like
yeah.
it's all from
So
that.
you know what? I take it as a challenge to inform fans because I know a lot because I read a lot, and you know a lot because we live it. So it's like,
Mm.
we'll tell you what we know. We're not we're not gatekeeping this for information. We're gate welcomers. Like whatever you love, whatever you like, we'll talk about, and we'll
We'll
inform
talk
you.
about
We will talk about it in depth.
it. We
I
will
can't
talk
even get
about it.
through, we're just doing a plug at the opening here. And I'm like, let's go in deep. Like here's a quick review of some of my favorite Jason Pearson stuff. He did what? The X-Men annual.
He did an
Okay, the X-Men
X-Force
annual.
annual that I put on my idiosyncratic pulp a while ago when the right before I think the second the
Oh, is that the Remender era?
yeah, but he did a really good
That was really good.
there's also an X-Men annual that has one of my favorite. I'll put it in here, and I know it's one of my favorite Wolverines where he's like kind of like chaos, like just like jumping, and
Yeah.
they like it so much. I think in the beginning of the actual annual they have the clip of it, like right there, the clip
Okay.
art's right there. That
He did the
uh,
Uncanny X-Men annual. Is that where they had to introduce a new character in every annual? And I think he
mhm.
got like Executioner,
You got
right?
Executioner, yeah, yep. Got the card.
Executioner.
He had
Yeah.
the card and
He had a
everything
card,
too.
valuable
Um,
card. Collect them
Yeah,
all.
that was kind of my favorite. Did he do any work in the X-Men annual that Jim Lee did the layouts? Maybe there might be something in
There's
there.
a good chance of that.
Everybody did that of that. I actually
I
have to
love it.
rotate that in. I'm doing a
Oh,
I
we
don't know if
should
I can
talk
get a
about that
month
one
out
day.
of it. Oh, well, oh yeah, I guess I should.
We should
Yeah,
do both.
let's
We should do an episode about it, and you should do a month about it on your idiosyncratic pulp.
I'm doing a whole month. I'm doing a
All right. My
month.
and my second Twitter account, going through Supreme one page at a time. We're in the middle of the Supreme Apocalypse story. This is actually a glory issue. I think it's Diodato. He's one of the three artists that drew it.
Who knows?
The coloring's pretty well. I mean, sometimes you could really tell it's Diodato.
Mm.
And the coloring's really good on this. I think it's Drew, or I think it's extreme colors, but I think some of
Mhm.
this is Drew. I forget his last name, but he's another sadly passed colorist. But he's one of the guys that really got good at drawing, like the sheer clothes, like clothes that were like kind of
Mhm.
see through. Some neat fabric designs.
Very important in
So
the '90s to have see-through
it
things.
was very important in the '90s. Well, when they discovered they could do that, like everyone was like, "Hey, look, we can do this."
Yeah.
You know, Fun. It was fun.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
always
step.
like the way that I think that even Dan Moore now does the eye through the hair
Yeah,
thing
we
pretty
talked about that
well.
with Supergirl last week.
Yeah, I think
That
he
was
does a
that
good
was a good
job of that.
image. Oh, by the way, behind me,
Image Comics.
it, Image Comics. It is the 30th anniversary of Image Comics. 33rd anniversary yesterday. I don't know if you
Oh,
talked about
really?
it in the news or not. I know you brought that up, but yeah, 33 years, and all the Image guys always talk about it on their Twitters or Facebooks. And I'm
You
just like,
listen to Liefeld's podcast, but remember how many months before another Image book came out? Like Youngblood came out, and it was like almost like 4 months
it
or
was like,
something,
yeah,
right? Three
at
or four
least
months.
3 or 4 months before Spawn '1
So
came out.
everybody's scared. Yeah,
Yeah, they let him
nobody
take
was
the
really
risk.
sure.
I don't blame him. Listen, you make a lot of money at Marvel.
Valentino still he stayed on kind of like almost like creative director as like I mean he still did a ton of issues of Guardians, but
They
even
forced him
after,
off. They
yeah,
forced
is
him
that right?
off. Yeah, they got angry. Nobody, nobody was real going to like leave Marvel. Like we'll get into this on our Image episode that we really want to do. But like
Mhm.
Liefeld had plans to still write or at least co-plot X Force, and he wanted to write and draw the Cable miniseries. Valentino didn't want to leave Guardians. Larson had plans for a Nova series. Along with the Batman and Lobo before his house burned down. You
Mhm.
know, McFarlane he was trying to do sports cards. They didn't want to just do
Front row,
Image.
front
You
row.
know, Marvel tried
Wasn't
like
that
hell. Yeah,
wasn't
front
that
row, front row.
McFarlane's
Yeah,
name of the sports cards?
yeah.
You wanted why be in the upper deck
When
if you
you
could
can
be
be
in
in
the
the
front
front
row?
row, I love it.
The front row. Yeah, that was kind of a big deal that cover because and I always thought the Jim Lee drawing was not Jim Lee. I always thought the mall was like it did, especially the tongue.
It's
The
very Art
tongue,
T bearish or something.
it's
Um,
something. I don't. it feels it. That tongue felt like a Liefeld. I'm sorry, a McFarlane flourish. You know what I mean?
could
Like
be McFarlane. All right, first
the
off, we don't know
Sylvester is
who
clearly.
we don't know who laid this out. If
I
could have
always
been,
attribute the layout to Eric Larson. I always feel like Eric Larson's the layout in
it
a
could have
way.
been. It's very because he's the first character you see there, so
Hmm.
it could be Eric Larson. But McFarlane likes to ink over other people after everyone else is done. Like he was
Right.
doing that on Image United. Image United, they're all passing around the
Hmm.
pages so they can all draw their characters. And then McFarlane's adding inks to everyone too to make it look a little more cohesive, but that's not the point of the book. So Larson saw what McFarlane was doing. He went back and just whited out the extra stuff. He's like, "Yeah, this is my inks." You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's
That's
fun.
yeah.
And yet McFarlane's the one who held up Image United the most. You know,
Where is the page? Where are the pages? Was it issue 4?
four is completely laid out and like half inked. Like I think most of the Liefeld Larson stuff's done. Valentino was getting other people to ink his pencils. Portaccio
Chance
was
Wolf.
never an issue.
Right.
Dude, Chance Wolf is inking parts of the new Youngblood book.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but it was always like I think Silvestri and McFarlane that were the ones that really were holding it up.
Yeah.
But
I,
now they got Youngblood back, maybe we'll get it. Maybe we'll
yeah.
finally
I
get
mean,
it.
I feel like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you
Well,
do a
Liefeld was
re-release of everything.
he was actively working on pages a couple weeks ago. He was showing like inking some Image United. He's just hardcore young blooding it right now. So
He's young blood in it. We'll get
young
to
blood
it.
in it.
I got my Planet Krypton shirt on. We were just theorizing on the picture behind me because in the reflection, I don't know where this is from. You have Shazam in the reflections. There's a Kingdom Come. There's a Kingdom Come reference. The Planet Krypton, and they put out a bunch of these shirts. It's funny, and I got this for like $5 at Ron's Comic World in Hainsport. This is
Nice.
Central City, but I like the logo. Was always really good. Great concept. That's like the epilogue of Kingdom Come. So, but I'm up for a reread of that. I don't know. Right now, last night I went and I'm just going through the DC app has a great depending on the book they have the panel to panel and whoever remastered 100 Bullets they did it in such a way where sometimes it would be not just like panel. They would do like little pieces of it or elongated pieces. So whoever did that, I don't know. That's like a secret art. I'm not really sure. Sometimes it's just like panel. Sometimes it's little blocks of things. So I'm rereading 100 Bullets because I don't know. I think you're with me on this too. We both fell off. I was probably around 50, 60, and it went to 100, and I've never read. But then when Brother Lono came out, the miniseries, I read that. So, uh, but I never read it like finish it. So I'm kind of just trying to when I can try to get an issue or two out. So,
Yeah.
but this week in
Yeah. I
my
think I stopped
issue,
at around 50. I was just busy in life at that time. Um, and once you miss a couple issues, you're like, I'll just go back and read them all. And then next thing you know,
then
you got 50 issues to read,
it's
and you're like,
canceled. Yeah, then it's over.
yeah,
Well, I think it was a plan 100. It was probably maybe a plan 60, 75, and then they just did well enough. So, but this month, I don't know if I can do a whole month out of it. It's possible. I have a ton of P. Greg Russell work, which
oh, fun.
I think originally, I think my first P. Craig Russell book was Robin 3000. I feel that like that's about right. And then I would
Yeah.
see it here and there. But I really like the Elric series he did and at Tops with well, actually, Neil Gaiman had a short story in that, which is I think for rights reason is not reprinted in the Titan version of that for some reason. That
Okay.
One Life. I don't
I
know
didn't
exactly why.
appreciate Robin 3000 when it came out because I bought it and it was so
Yeah, I want to.
expensive, like
Yeah, it
as a
was
kid, because
four or
we were
five,
like
four ninety
15.
five, 5.95. Yeah, so
I was a big, and I only made like $5 an hour working at the pharmacy. That was a big amount to buy that book. And then I didn't really love it when I read it.
I don't
But
remember. I don't remember who wrote it. Um, but he did two issues of. Then I think after that he did some two issues of. Did a Poison Ivy story, and then I just started to see stuff that he's been around forever. So this
yeah,
is from '77, and his art was always similar to this. I mean, if you looked at this there and you look at his stuff that he did for Dark Horse, the all the Ring and Nibelung stuff, like it's not that different. So here, what's funny about this, and I just found I have a Star Reads Classics which reprint this, so this is the original in '77.
yeah.
But I just went through and just like the black and white, and I found a color reprint of this, which was an '83 from Eclipse. So I'm
Oh,
not sure if
neat.
I put that up
Did he
next.
recolor it, or did they find someone to color it?
It doesn't. I don't know if it tells you. That's what the problem with a lot of this stuff is. Like it, and even who wrote this, I don't know who this person is. But just looking through, this is after this was after Killraven, or maybe during Killraven. Um,
It's a brave thing to do, man. To self-publish a comic like in the '70s and charge $1.25 for it. Holy crap!
yeah,
I don't know how good this sold. Um, I don't know how
yeah.
he
Well,
sold it.
Starreach was Mike Friedrich's company, and there is about 15 issues, and I believe that he still owns some of it because you can go on like starreach.com and like order a reprint of this, and it's like a print on demand.
Oh, neat.
I may have a print on demand thing that I didn't know I was purchasing. But I know that, I was over at my dad's and I gave him a lot of the Sean Phillips stuff, the Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips stuff. So he just read Fade Out and he really liked it. But I know Fade Out was like one of the worst sellers. And he's like, "Are they doing a sequel to this? You give me sequels a lot." I'm like, "No, that doesn't sell like at all." It is one of the best like trade like in longer publications. So
Yeah.
eventually, I think they're going to probably do like a read deluxe edition, maybe. But
I
I don't know.
typically read the Brubaker stuff month to month, but the Fade Out is another one of those books I got behind on and just didn't get back to it for a while.
There's too many characters. There's
In
like
fact,
10
I had
characters. So
read the following series or two before I finally got back to the Fade Out.
mm.
I'm
It's
like,
hard. It's hard because there's a lot of characters in that. So
it's better to read collected. That's a Brubaker book, and Brubaker's kind of
yeah.
learned like I'm just better collected. You know?
Yeah, almost an accident that, he kind of is now in the format that he's in, doing like the 120, 110, 120 page graphic novel hardcover,
Yeah.
So but really cool. So I have a lot pulled for this. I have a lot of P. Craig Russell stuff, a lot of Eclipse stuff, a lot of he did the Jungle Book, which I think was in he did a Jungle Book adaptation in, I want to say, like Bizarre Adventures and stuff. His stuff is kind of all over the place, and then they'll have like a pretty nice reprint of it. Then they have a good coloring reprint. Laverne Krasinski did a lot with that. There's a really good hardcover. It's never inexpensive,
Who
but
is the
Dark Horse
guy?
did. Yeah, that's right. Correct. Yeah, his main colorist late in the 90s, probably late 80s, 90s, and his colorist for kind of ever. Um, but I think that Dark Horse has a Ring and Nibelung like complete because remember he did, I think it was like 5 miniseries, and then they did a really nice hardcover, but that hardcover is never in print. It was in print
Right.
like once, and now it's always like it's never for less than like 180. So that's another eventual grail that I'll get, but I won't pay more than like $30 for it probably. So I'll keep looking.
Yeah.
Never know, man. I
So,
get a
all
lot of
right.
stuff. I
Cool.
just wait. I just
And
wait it out.
that is your Instagram, your Insta,
My Instagram. Yep. My
and what's
Instagram
that
account.
called? Idiosyncratic Pulp. You got to tell people.
Yeah. So I'm gonna do a P. Craig Russell month. I think I want to start to rotate more of uh the Ohatmu stuff back in, and some ads, and some I have to hostess ads and stuff. So let's jump out here
All right.
and let me get into the news of the
The
week.
news. So I
Our
had a friend. I
jam.
What I did with this wizard cover behind me is I scanned them all of my little scanner. I only have a small scanner, and I sent them to a friend of mine who through Photoshop, I guess it's called photo merge, and he just merged all the covers together so I get one complete image. So I dig it.
Image. One
One great
complete
image. Happy 33rd anniversary.
image. Boom. All right, so
All
let's
right.
do it.
Let's start on a down
News
note.
to week. Well, yeah, I mean, so this kind of dovetails into some previous news where Neil Gaiman was canceled for doing lots of S&M stuff, which may or may not have been consensual. Um, the kind of the holes in the stories, I think, with a lot of that stuff is that basically they're like, he did this, and then I was employed by him for 3 additional years. So that to me is always kind of a funky thing. When things were so bad, you really, you stayed for a long time.
Yeah, but that could be
But
out of desperation. So, but I'm
but
excited
I
about Sandman coming back. Like I really am.
Well, first off, they're getting Netflix this to me is I hate this. So what we're looking at here basically is a poster for Sandman, the final season. So like not that anyone
Final
knows that
season.
that it's a new season or season two. Like, you know what I mean? It's just weird. By throwing in a final season, you're almost like, oh, okay, so there's absolutely no way there can be another season after this. There
Right.
can't be, so you're putting out, I mean, we're looking at seven actors here, right? Plus Patton Oswalt is the
Matthew.
voice. Yeah. So Matt the Raven, send
That's
a
right.
Raven. Um, so you're unemploying at minimum seven, probably 600, 700, who knows? So it's just a bummer because like I feel that like even with this, and this is where there's a lot of um, retro continuity that they're doing here. So because Alan Heinberg and David S. Goyer, this is what the showrunner says. The Sandman series has always been focused exclusively on Dream Story back in 2022 when we looked at the remaining Dream material from the comics. So saying this right now as if they were like, we only know, but we only had enough story for one more season. This is, I believe, completely not true. I think this is
No.
completely not true.
Nope.
We're extremely grateful for Netflix for bringing the team all back together. That's somewhat true because, Neil Gaiman was difficult to get this adapted. He wanted the right time, the right money, the right everything.
Uh-huh.
And season one is pretty perfect. It's really perfect. Like it's great. So, basically is almost like 10 issues, right?
They
Um,
do they do the stories that we want to see very well. The Immortal Guy, I forget the name of that story, the death issue. Like people are like, it's so perfect what they
yeah,
did.
like it's like I don't want them to do that. I don't want them to do the serial killer I mentioned. They did it great. I don't want them to do the sound of our wings. They did it great. So like I can't, but I feel like all this is such, crap, basically, in my
It is
opinion.
crap. There's just
So
enough now, dude. You had 75 issues of a comic plus.
and
You
and and you could have done the trades. You know what I mean? They kind of did the first trade, basically.
Yeah.
Uh,
And you could have actually had in
they
the
did
middle of the
Doll's House,
show
first two
given
trades.
us a season of you could have a death season, If she has two miniseries and
Mhm.
other stories that you could have done a whole death show.
You could have done a three episode, uh, high cost of living. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And like you
exactly.
could have done a three episode in between seasons. So this could have been a really, really long time. A lot of work could be pulled from this material, right? But I found this on Reddit. So basically, these were what was announced. So I think, and we talked about this before the show. I thought that there was supposed to be initially they were going to do like a season one, part one, or season two, part one, part two, which is what Netflix does a lot of the time. So these were the 10 Song of Orpheus, which was Orpheus is that's the special. Brief Lives, which was a couple issues. Then at the end, Season of Mist, which Ruler of Hell is mixed in there, so I get this. And Family Blood is when he visits a lot of the rest of the analysts, which are in the picture.
Yeah, yeah.
So I just to me is a bummer that like we get Season of Mist, which is my favorite. I actually had a like a limited edition like book club version, which had like a cool cover with like an embossed uh had a key on the cover, which was in like this like goldish like foil. It was really, really cool looking, and one of my XGFs, I think, still has it.
Hmm.
Uh, no way. So this is kind of in addition to kind of piggybacking on the news. But apparently when we talked about last week, the Anansi Boys adaptation, which was done by at least four people, right?
Right.
Bernardin, Sean Martin Barrow, colorist, letterist, David Mack on cover. So you have five or six people employed there. The last issue, number 8, will not come out, and the collection's not coming out. So cool. So future royalties, no good. Our
Yeah.
kind of concepted theory of what we think they should maybe put in these contracts is do some type of ethics clause contract. And in the event that anything like this happens in this cancel culture that we're in,
Right.
you take the portion that Neil Gaiman would have received from this and you would pay you first. One of the thoughts we had, we would evenly split the difference over the balance of people.
Right.
You had
That
the
was the
better idea of saying like, well, what if you gave whatever
right.
portion he was supposed to get and give it to whatever charity that may be closest to whatever he may be abusing at the time.
Yes.
Like whatever, you know what I mean? Not to laugh at that, but like
No, but like
um
it's a progressive move.
so
Um,
this was a graphic novel that Colleen Durant was going to adapt, similar to what Dark Horse did with Norse mythology and that Peter Russell worked on, right? So
mhm,
they have another
mhm.
guy that probably could continue to adapt, and then I'm going to focus on the 2 or 3 issues that Peter Russell worked on, I think at least two, uh, in Sandman. I'm not gonna put that in my Peter Russell month. Of course I will. You know what I mean? Like, so it's, but here, Colleen Durant, never a huge, probably does not have a ton of money. You know what I mean? But has done work throughout,
No, I wouldn't imagine
you know,
she's
but I
well
imagine
off.
here she'd probably do pretty well off of this. And now,
Her her biggest paycheck is probably the issue of Amazing Spider-Man she did in between
right,
McFarlane and Larson's run.
right,
You
right,
know,
right. That's how we knew her initially.
that is. It's kind of
So,
a shame because I didn't. Once again, my youth, I didn't appreciate that issue, and I remember thinking like, Graviton is like this awesome villain, right? Like if Larson or McFarlane had drawn that issue, I feel like Graviton would have been lifted to a more because he's Magneto
right.
level powerful.
Mhm.
He controls gravity. You know how important gravity is, like to the universe, to
Wasn't
space
Graviton
time.
in like Agents of Shield? What didn't they have like a throwaway episode with Graviton in or
It
something?
was it was throwaway in the beginning, but then when he comes out 6 seasons later, he's played by a different actor, and it's the guy who
Six
played
seasons
Nathan
later.
Petrelli from Heroes, the brother who was like the
Oh,
politician.
okay. Hmm.
So, but they also used him to play Glenn Talbot, and I'm like, oh man, he's a really good Glenn Talbot. Like had the mustache and everything.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I forget that guy's name.
Glenn
Forget Christopher
Talbot, dude. Yeah,
Glenn
I forget his
Talbot.
real name. I can't believe I remembered Nathan Petrelli.
Jeez.
Sometimes things just stick with you.
Yeah.
And yet, what was his brother's name, who was also Petrelli, who was the star of the show?
Who was the star of the show? Right.
Yep,
Rocky's kid.
Rocky's kid slash This Is
Uh,
Us. Um,
so here's another, that was the other project that was
so wait,
basically
so
killed. This
yeah,
was a
that gets
graphic
killed.
novel on Kickstarter that is now basically it's being allowed for, I mean, I get it doesn't really say that it's canceled, but it's allowing for refunds if you choose to, which
So
means that, but it says that it was frozen production process. Does that mean there's going to be extra copies of this?
yes, it means there's going to be extra copies of this. This is a shame for Colleen Durant. What was her Warren Ellis book? She did an original graphic novel with Warren Ellis when he was big before he got canceled.
I forget.
Oh man,
Yeah.
she can't choose good writers. Sorry, Colleen Durant. She's she's
Right.
she's she's an incredible talent. What was her book? Distant Soil. You ever read it?
Isn't soil. No.
Nah, me neither. I know Image picked it up, but I think that's
Yeah.
because she was friendly with Larson. Like Larson and her were friendly. Um, yeah, the Warren Ellis graphic novel she did with him was really good. That was back when Warren Ellis was like firing on all cylinders. Before
Yeah, that's what
everything just
every
became.
project was good. Every project that came out was like, it was always a B or B plus. There was never anything you got and you're like, man, I hate this.
Yeah, yeah. Even like some of his early Avatar work was like
Was it
really good. I
Orbiter,
think
was it? Was it Orbiter?
Orbiter. I think it was Orbiter. He
Yeah.
did a book called Creasy. Ministry of Space was really good.
Right.
He did
Chris
this book called
Weston.
he did this book Cressy. I don't know, but it was all about like the Anglo Saxons in like 1,000 years ago type of story, like pre Britain. And I'm like, this is really
Yeah,
good.
that was for Avatar, I believe.
That was
That
for
was good.
Avatar. But then he discovered like I think it was books called Gravel. The character's name was like
Mm,
anyway, but like every character after that just seemed like a take on John Constantine.
right.
Like every Image
Right.
book, everything just became like I love this archetype of a character, and he just kept making that character, the character
Right.
who's
Right.
just smarter than everyone else and has secret,
Pete
whether it's
Wisdom is Marvel Constantine, basically.
uh, Elijah Snow from Planetary. Like I said, Gravel.
Got a trench coat.
What's the book he
Give me
did
that
with
trench
Declan
coat.
Shalvey? Uh,
I forget. Red. Not Red was with Cully Hammer.
yeah, that was Coley there. So anyway, but it's a shame because it's another case of are we getting those books? Those books should all be in print. Are they not in print? Like Warren Ellis was writing evergreen comics to be
Right.
enjoyed forever. And
Right. Right.
I think they were working on it, and this is really sad. They were working on a Coraline musical, and I think that got canceled too. They're like, "Yeah, we're not going to do this,"
Yeah,
which is
this was last year. This was November of last year. There must have been something that they were about to go into work for Good Omens season three, and there was rumors of the allegations, and Amazon cut this. So they cut Good Omens season three and made it like a movie. And I don't know if that's going to be shot or maybe it
I
was already shot.
I do want to watch this. I never watched Good Omens. I never read Good Omens. Everyone I know
I
so
read
many
Good
people that
Omens.
read the books.
Yeah.
You know, I've read
Yeah, the first
Stardust.
season's really good. The second season, I watched the first episode and it just wasn't charming. It's a situation where I feel like it came out so much later than season one that
Yeah.
just the juice is gone. I
Okay.
watched it. I'm like, okay. So yeah, to me, I don't know. I just feel that, if there's just a lot of people out of work in this, which I don't like. Yeah, they'll probably find other projects, but I feel like even Hollywood since the strike is just struggling to get projects together. So we don't need
Yeah.
an extra monkey wrench in it. So
What One of the things I love about Coraline is my daughters love it. My daughters were of an age where that movie really meant something to them, and it's got a song in it called "The Other Father Song," written by They Might Be Giants, and it's such a
oh right.
catchy 30
Mhm.
second song that like I used to play it, and all of us would like sing it together. It was really like something in the car we would do, like, and then the girls would be like, "Let's play it again," and sometimes we would just sing it like 10 times in a row. It's just a
Right,
crazy,
right, right.
fast, upbeat, super hard song to play on the piano. Like I know people play piano and they're like, "Yeah, this is really hard." Like, but They Might Be Giants, everyone. All right. This was sad. I had heard about this, but like it really made the news this past week
This week,
about
yeah.
John Irwin passing. Super long career, did commercials, did westerns, but we know him as the voice of Prince Adam slash He-Man. Um, he's an
Yeah, I
incredible
would
voice
say that
actor.
I feel like with his voice, it was always very because at the end, listen, the only way that He-Man got that many episodes is that they had like a psychiatrist on staff, so they almost had like a lesson after every one, and it would be very comforting. At the end, he's like, "All right, this is what's going on," and he would just, I don't know, just like we had John Wayne was Optimus Prime, right? And now we have another literal guy who was on multiple westerns.
Yeah,
So it's kind of funny. We have these doing these animations which are not look. That's not a western. It's not a western.
he's
It's funny. Mm.
as He-Man. It was a very particular voice that just works so well. And like it worked great for He-Man and Prince Adam. But like sometimes because they only had like 5 or 6 voice actors at Filmation, they were super
Oh yeah,
low budget. So like all of a sudden, here's the villager guy would come along and he would just sound like Prince Adam. Or here comes the new rock villain. It's like, oh, that's just Prince Adam,
right,
But he
right.
did try to save the He-Man voice. The I have, what I mean? Like he tried to save that for He-Man.
Yeah, what's the reasoning behind that? I think if it's a it's some type of like guild rule or something that they need to have so many voices. Does that sound right?
You you can't do more than 3 voices or something per episode, 3 different characters. It used to be 5. I think they had lowered it some.
Was it
Otherwise, you
was
just
it more of like a cost saving thing? Because
yes,
I
yeah.
like yeah.
Well, because they used to just abuse people back in the day. You're here, oh, just do like almost everyone. So they stopped that because that's a lot of work for a voice actor. Voice acting is not easy. It sounds easy, but it's not.
Mhm.
Because you do retakes and you're doing different voices and different affectations. Um, so yeah, they made a rule at some point you can't play more than 3 characters in an episode.
Yeah, it's good to go on to like after this I went on to I think went on to YouTube and just put in John Irwin and then there's a bunch of supercuts of like him on a commercial like playing a car salesman and him on voiceover here and voiceover here. Like it's pretty cool when these people just have these all these varied work and then kind of like
Yeah,
rest into something. And even
like
Alan Oppenheimer, there's so many voices of Alan
Alan
Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer is like he's just insane. He did so many voice. Alan Oppenheimer still alive. They're both. I mean, John Irwin was 88, so I can only imagine Alan Oppenheimer is about the same age. But
Mhm.
Alan Oppenheimer still works and still wants to work. When they did the 2002 He-Man show, like they recast it, the voices, but Alan Oppenheimer would still do Skeletor for commercials for video games.
Yeah.
And Kevin Smith was still using them in his new show as other characters. He's like, "Oh, you still want to work? Yeah, here, do this guy, do Moss Man, do the, you know what I mean? Like they were still
Right,
working
right,
these
right.
guys.
Right.
Alan Oppenheimer did like Falcor in the Neverending Story, you know, like he's just
Oh,
and
that's right. That's right. Yeah.
and Alan Oppenheimer. Guess what? When you have a name like that, there's only so many Oppenheimers in the United States. His third cousin
That's right.
is the other Oppenheimer. The movie
Oh my God.
Oppenheimer is his
Oh my
cousin.
God.
The scientist that brought us the atom, helped bring us the atom bomb.
Wow.
At least that's a weapon. And what's funny about so back to John Irwin. Uh, for us, he'll always be He-Man. But secondly, he was Morris the Cat, which was like such a Marcia Cat. What was his cat food commercials for? I forget which cat food commercial it was,
I
but
don't
he
remember.
was.
Yeah, that was on right. I
But it
don't
was a
remember.
very
Yeah,
like almost Garfield sounding voice. So
Nine Lives.
So John Irwin, yeah, he said he just didn't want to do He-Man anymore. Not that he didn't like the character. He just felt like he was no longer that voice. And I think the last time he did it was like a 2 second uh, appearance on Family Guy, where like
Right.
Brian like
Yeah, it
didn't
says a
want this
final
this
role,
yeah.
season 4 episode of Family Guy.
But it's cool he came back for that at least. This is something. So yeah, that's a shame. But
Yeah, but She-Ra posted on a couple things this week. So the Melody Bread, the voice of She-Ra posted. I'll put that post up here, which has just more about, they worked together in a lot of stuff. That was probably the most crossovery thing that wasn't like, not that it wasn't special, but it was like a good amount that they were in each other's.
yeah, I think Filmation could only do one cartoon at a time. So it's like here's 65 episodes of He-Man, and then here's 65 episodes of She-Ra, plus a Christmas special in between,
Mhm.
and another special. And did John Irwin? He didn't voice He-Man in the New Adventures of He-Man, right? I think maybe that's one of the reasons I didn't like it. I don't know if
I don't
John
think
Irwin
so.
continued to be He-Man after that.
Nah, it was pretty much just right for that, and then the Family Guy. So here's good news. Good news. Good sales news. Absolute Batman, 140,000. So this is, I don't, it doesn't really, again, this is not even a second storyline, right? Isn't that just, it's
Yes.
still the same storyline. So, they're just continuing to just maneuver more and more sales out of Absolute Batman, which is fine because again, here's a couple of covers. There's a claim that's a Clayman. Well, it says the Man Boy, so it's the Clayman and I don't know the brother's name. Clayman was kind of the main artist, but
Yeah, that's
but
really nice looking.
these, yeah, there's cover A, Dragata, which has
So
the
dynamic. Look at
insane
him.
black mask and Alfred. Um, I don't know if I noticed the boots like this too. Again, this
Look at them. They're like
design
Bat Wolverine
is
boots.
is allowing a lot of people to just mess around. Like that's crazy looking.
That's
I love
very
that color on that. Oh my
Jim.
God.
Is it Frank Miller or Jim Lee? It reminds me of something.
It's kind of like it kind of feels like that, a little bit like that Deathblow style, right? Like
Yeah.
with all this like kind of undefined.
I used to
Um,
love drawing fives like that. Like Sam Keith and Eric Larson would always do the big like Spider-Man falling down or the Max crouching down, like those big
yeah,
thighs.
yeah.
Fun to draw. Who's
Here's a
this? Is
Ian.
this
It's a Ian Bertram.
Birch? All right. Yeah,
That's
that's a
insane.
really cool Mobius looking cover.
Yeah, that's
Modern,
super
modern
fun.
Mobius.
This I meant to put in the reviews. I just kind of threw it up, but this is a Star Wars New Legacy Kyle Hotz variant, which is
Nice.
pretty great,
That
which
was a
is pretty
good.
great.
Yeah,
So
we'll talk about that during reviews. Fun
yeah,
cover.
there was a lot of stuff in that. I didn't know if I would like that, but I actually ended up liking it more than I thought. So the next Godzilla one shot, even you see as Emilio Laiso, Godzilla versus X-Men, May 25 for my birthday, just not for my birthday. It's good.
Nice.
Um, what was interesting about this, and I don't know, so this cover is a Tony Daniel cover. So I don't know. Tony Daniel's not, I guess he's not DC exclusive, right? So he's going back to Marvel. He's only doing the
They
cover here
don't
as a variant.
they don't like
But
exclusivity unless you're like super A-list nowadays. And
yeah,
Tony
that's
Daniel is
fine.
not A-list anymore. But he's still a good
No,
artist. He's still,
yeah.
competent.
This
Um,
I thought originally when I first saw it, I thought it was a Campbell because this face here, I think Gaiman's face looks like J. Scott Campbell. But then I felt like this looked like a Phil Jimenez, right? So there's a couple styles going on here. The Godzilla is at least new and interesting.
who's the anchor on
I've
that? I can't make
I've
it out.
I've not liked. I don't know. It almost looks like Alquiz. I'm not sure if it's Marlowe. I don't think that they work together.
He's no,
I
I
don't
don't think
think she
Alkizo.
signs.
I don't think he does anything for comics unless you like particularly ask him. He's a at the very least a nurse, maybe a nurse
Hmm.
practitioner. He went back to medical school.
Oh,
I
really?
guess when
Hmm.
inking. Yeah, it was funny about Marlo Akizo. First off, he had the job of inking Platt for a while. That I hope he got paid well for that because that's a lot of work. Um, but I was
But
watching
I
a
feel
show
like Platt
called.
was always credited too. So I think Platt he would do certain things himself,
There's
almost like
certain things that
Liefeld.
he, yeah, like
Yeah.
he wanted to ink this, and then you can ink the rest. There was a TV show on, I don't know, Bravo or Learning Channel called Master Collector or something like that. And it was supposed to be a show about people who have great collections. And he has a so they did a show, and here it was Marlo Alquiza, and he's like dressed in scrubs, and they're like filming his collection of that. I guess like 12-inch figures. I guess that's his deal, like
Hmm.
larger toys. But it's like he was kind of angry because the show made it seem more like he's addicted to collecting. They kind of did a twist on the show where it
Hmm.
wasn't like master collector. It was more like I'm addicted to collecting. And he's like, oh, that's kind of shitty the way they kind of filmed that and made that seem like it was like a problem. I remember
Yeah,
this
I
one
think
episode
that's
of the
not great.
show
Yeah.
where the wife's like, I'm so sick of your comic collection. And they live in like a two-bedroom apartment. And he's got like maybe 30 boxes stacked up, 10 in a row, three high. And I
What's the
think he like,
problem?
and this woman comes in and she's like, oh, you really got to invest in silver. And that's what it's about. It's investing in silver. And he like traded his collection for like a copy of Wolverine 181. And I'm like, I don't think this guy's happy about that trade. Value wise, yeah, it's probably a good trade.
Hmm.
But like, you just lost thousands of comics that you love, that you collected, that you want to reread.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
some people love to collect the comic, the mint condition, the graded. That's cool. But like some people just want that's their stuff, that's their life, that's their nostalgia,
Hmm.
that's their escape. You know,
Yeah, collecting, and we've talked about what do you call it? You call it uncollecting?
decollecting.
Decollecting?
Yeah,
Decollecting.
when you want to sell off a chunk and you appreciate it, you go through it. Sometimes you look at it again, and then But if you need money, and then when you're flush again, you're like, I kind of want that book. Let me go have it. Let me go
Yeah, I
find
think
it.
I figured out. I mean, again, I went through a couple
Recollecting.
different phases. Now I'm
I guess that would be
recollecting.
yeah. Now you're recollecting.
I'm recollecting certain things now. But yeah, it definitely, listen, helped me out a ton last year when I got my W-2. I thought I made more from my main job. I did not. Luckily I'm in this other position where I am, but it was surprising. I was like, really? And I was like, okay, well, good thing I took this other position. Definitely good thing. But the way I'm putting my collection together now, I feel like you're right. I feel like I want to get the same stuff that I bought when I was 12 to 20, basically. I could probably get rid of other stuff that I don't really care about as
Yeah.
much. Like
I
I went back and I got an entire New Gods set over 10 years and then I sold it. Then I was like, do I want any of that anymore? I'm not nostalgic for that. I already have it in two or three different types of reprints. I'm not
yeah.
nostalgic for it. I appreciate it, but I'm not nostalgic for it like I would be for I feel like I had so many copies of like Cable 1 and 2, the Blood and Metal, the JRJR. I bought that all the time. I bought the OMAC over and over again. I bought the OMAC set over and over again because the OMAC
You
set was always be cheap. The
yeah,
John Byrne OMAC
dude.
set.
DC's missing out on not coloring that book. Color that
I
book.
I
Put out a
I don't know. OMAC's troublesome because I feel like there's never been. I've liked every OMAC series. So like the initial OMAC series that got canceled or just had what
oh
eight,
the
10
Kirby one.
issues,
So
the Kirby one,
good,
right?
so
And
good.
then you have the OMAC John Byrne, right? And then
Right,
you have the OMAC Project, which is that was all tied together. It wasn't really OMAC per se. It
right.
was basically a Batman,
But it was part of the build up to Infinite Crisis. That was probably
right?
that
That's
was
the
one of the
best
last times
buildup.
DC. It is. It
That's
is
a
an
cool
incredible build up.
buildup. You had the Rand Thanagarian War. You had OMAC Project. You had lots of good books that were
And
leading up to
and
things.
the final book with Max Lord killing Blue Beetle. That's an incredible one
Yeah, the
shot.
Countdown to Infinite Crisis. I have that.
Yeah,
That's
that's a really good book.
but
But
then I love the Giffen one. I sold that, but I'm probably end up getting the trade for that because the trade has a bunch of stuff. I looked at it at the DC app rather yesterday actually. Um, the OMAC, the Dan Didio, which was a
Keith
Jim
Giffen,
Lee
right?
design, which is a weird, but then Giffen it up, but it technically was a Jim Lee design.
I
That
think
OMAC
both Larson
New
and
52.
Liefeld have pitched new OMAC books.
OMAC's Captain America. OMAC is future
He
Old Man
just
Captain America technically.
yeah,
So,
he's Captain
uh,
America meets Shazam. Like he's an awesome, you know,
yeah,
like I love him. Yeah,
I
DC
love it.
should do. He's just one of those
But
things that DC doesn't want to do.
yeah, because Liefeld had it something where it was in one of Kirby's interviews or something like that, and he's talking about he's the guy's a super soldier and da da da, and I'm just
Yeah,
like, oh crap, he's actually Captain America in DC. So, but somehow spiraling back to this, Marvel is still continuing the terrible job of logos. Great job, great logos, sure, but you can scatter it. You can have the X bleed over top. You can have there's just these small logos are no good for me, man. They have one person in logo. I'll work for DC, for Marvel or DC. Well, DC has much less trouble. They're doing a pretty good job. And you have this, which is Taran Clark. This feels way too photoshoppy for me. I like Taran Clark. I think it's technically, you know, Mike Mayhew-ish, but this feels like a just a lift and a half, you know. There's a lot of
Yeah.
stuff going on in this. I don't love it. I don't love it. Nope. This is a Nick Bradshaw, but with a lot more. It's interesting. This it feels like he's going backwards, which is cool. That's pretty neat. But I don't know who these people are. So I'm not sure if this is going to be like the new G-Force people, if this is continuity, what exactly this is. But again, at least a
But it's
good a
yeah,
good
it's a good
rendition.
shot. It's a good idea. It's like him rising from the cliff. I guess they're,
Sounds
approaching.
good.
Yeah,
Please.
that's intimidating.
I don't remember who this was. This is someone I think we know, but it's like not good. Like all of it, all of it's not good.
I
There's
see the
no
idea, but it's like,
dynamism in it.
yeah,
There's just a lot. And look at the tiny dumb logo. You can't make that logo bigger. Look through. It's the same. It's just the same person. Splat, splat, splat,
yeah.
splat,
They should have
splat,
got a splat
splat.
cover.
I know, right?
He worked on the Godzilla movie. Like he worked on the 2019 Godzilla movie, Stephen Platt.
Oh yeah, I think he's had some storyboards that he put up on his Instagram. So yeah. So but yeah, I don't know. I'll listen. I'm going to read all of them. I think that artist actually is really good. Oh yeah, I think that artist is really really good. But I feel like that again, they're not doing any cover A's. Should at least give him a cover D. I don't know. Give him a cover E. I don't know. There's
Something.
so many covers, man.
I mean, that last one, is that not going to be any better than, the actual artist, series artist? I don't know.
Yeah.
So, all right, moving on. Amazing Comics.
Yeah, it's Joe
What a
Q.
great
Just
name. You know,
yeah, well, it's very pulpy. We like it because it's that's All-Star Comics, baby. Like we like that golden age feel. The logo is very golden age. I think it's the first time I've ever noticed that where it says established in your imagination. It's not established
you know,
2024. You
Liefeld,
know.
I hate breaking them all the time. Take a shot. I don't hate it. It's just he's so informative. He said to Marvel Comics, he said, you got Kirkman doing Invincible. You should be doing something with every adjective you have. You should have an incredible comic, or you should have an amazing comic, or an uncanny comic. Like those are just great names. He goes, and someone's going to use them. And guess what?
Mm,
Joe Q did.
right. Yeah.
He took the adjective for Amazing Spider-Man. It's like, here's my company, Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, I get nervous. So here's the lineup of the writers, right? So I get nervous when I see stuff like this because I feel like, are you making? And I don't think I put it in the news, but I believe that a bunch of stuff got signed to Amazon this week, and it was all comic books that were like ready to be pitched, right? A lot of
Yeah.
every Comixology Scott Snyder book that he did was like, hey, here's something easily adaptable. Please give me money. Anyone.
Yes. Yes.
All the books, every single book. And one of them, the
Every.
Hayden Sherman one got signed. So that's cool. So I want
Yeah.
Sherman to get money. So that got signed this week. Whether it happens or not, we know a lot of the people in the 90s would make a lot of money off the options and would like it when options would expire because then they just get money again.
Then you
And
get
they're probably not
re-option.
going to be able to get it together. And they'll just have to do it again, have to do it again and again and again. But to me, when I look through this, I really only see pre-Sinis or people that worked with him when Casada did um, Marvel Knights, right? So
Right.
I just, to me, I'm not sure if this is going to be another what's the
Well,
Axel
well,
Alonso
what,
stuff?
what's going on?
What's that line? What's that product
Oh, that
line?
was it's defunct now, isn't it? A and
The
E,
AWA,
AWA.
AWA,
Yeah.
right? So like it's artists
Artists,
with
writers, artisans. Kind of a weird name.
right. But even that, every project that they did basically felt, like that. So I don't want this to be the
Yes.
same thing. So Derek Kolstad, I think he's actually co-writing. Let me see. Is he writing this? No, Charles Dorfman. So Quesada's not writing this. Wade's going to be his inker. All right. So this is the disciple, Isonove on color. So it feels very, and there's no scan of this. I've never seen this, right? We don't have anything like this.
No, and
So
I
I don't
didn't
even
get
know
this
if there were
book
story
in.
pages or, no one has a bootleg of that I've seen. Uh,
First off, I think he's going about this wrong. I was listening to Kirkman talk on Liefeld's podcast the other day. Take a shot. Getting drunk, taking shots of Liefeld references, and he
hmm,
says really he believes in the power of three. Like if you're launching a line, stick with three books.
hmm,
Or and I believe in start with one, make that one book really good, and then slowly launch up to three. Like I feel like
right.
it's a risk that Jeff Johns is doing. Like 5 or 6 books through his company. They're all successful so far, and they're good books for the most part. But like, see a person go, oh, I really like this writer. I want to buy everything he writes. 3 books a month is really good. But when you get to do 5 books a month, well, now that collector is like, do I want to buy 5 books a month? That's
Mhm.
$20 at least. You know, maybe I won't buy everything. Maybe I'll stick to my favorite books. So this I worry about, like, and maybe Joe Quesada's not thinking that fans want to buy everything. He just wants to. I guess each book is going to be aimed at different fans. So
Mhm.
we don't know. We're not in it. We only can see what we believe.
Right.
We know what we would do, and
Yeah,
obviously we're
I'm seeing a lot of like mainstream stuff here. I'm seeing a lot of people that don't work in industry. You know, Stephen Paul Judd doesn't work in comic books, right? Just he
right.
kind of works in comic books, but Kolstad does not work in comic books, So I feel like this could be the next when you see the Boom stuff, when you see Berserker come out, and you're like, all right, I see some talent on this, but technically this is, I guess, what, like an unrealized Keanu Reeves project.
So
Okay,
like, how much writing are these people doing? Like Dorfman doing Disciple with Joe Quesada. Is that more like a phone conversation? Like, hey, what do you want? What would you do with a comic?
right,
You
right,
know,
right.
because
It just
it's
says he'll co-write. It says
right.
here.
Because Joe Quesada can write. He's a decent writer. His Iron Man run was actually good. He was just writing Iron Man for a while, and I'm like, yeah, he's kind of a good writer. So
And
like, he doesn't
here's
need this guy.
right, right. But here's a tip. Here's a good here I think is a good tip, right?
Yeah.
Maybe Tom King can do this, right? So here, No Hunter, right? Hunter is a Hercules take. So when I read it, I think of different Hercules legends, right?
Right.
That's cool. So it's a
Right.
space Hercules, right? Nice. Uh, which
Hercules.
even
Hercules.
which even even Leighton did two miniseries plus of and a graphic novel, I believe, of Hercules in space doing stuff. That's Hercules. But like so it's not that far away from it. But that doesn't feel like if you didn't tell me that, I wouldn't be like, hey, it's Hercules in space. But I think I actually am more interested in reading it here. Here he's saying this is a reimagining of Shakespeare's Hamlet. So okay. So that's cool versus Tom King just doing like True Grit and later on he's like, oh yeah, but I just stole True Grit. And I'm like, okay, cool, thanks. You know what I mean? Like I didn't maybe catch it right off, but then I did, and I'm like, well, it's not changed enough. So if it's a reimagining or they do a little bit more reinterpolation, we understand there's only so many stories.
All right.
Uh, so I don't know anything about. So okay, so the Stegman. No, you don't have any Stegman writers here, right? No, Ethan Hawks. I don't know if Ethan Sachs ever worked with Stegman. I'm not sure. He would be the only person in a contemporary writer that may have worked with Stegman at Marvel around that time. Ethan Sachs did some good Star Wars stuff. He did Old Man Star-Lord. Does that sound right?
Okay.
I think that's right. He might have done some Old Man Logan stuff, but he did Old Man Star-Lord, which I think was pretty good. We love Old Man stuff.
We do.
Assad Ribic is never really on time, so I don't really know, and he's not necessarily
Is he
fast.
done his last book?
No, I don't know.
Is
No,
he
that's right. He
done
has doesn't he have a
Avengers
three-hour book?
Aliens?
Oh no, that's late. Yeah, that's right. That's late. So again, this is really loose. So you only have, and it's weird. You only have three artists, and then the third person. I don't know who that is. Artists of immensely popular European albums, Demon and Doghead. Is that two different albums? Is that I at least would have put something. These press releases
Yeah,
we've been
because it
talking
says
about are
albums.
just completely.
Albums denotes two.
Uh, is
Otherwise,
it
it would have said
album?
the popular European album, Damon and Doghead.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
So
I don't know.
Damon and Doghead. That's fine.
So I
Yeah.
just don't know about this stuff just yet.
And
I
then
don't
it's
know.
funny. He gives us a cover that if he took away Joe Quesada's name, I cannot tell you that this was Joe Quesada.
Yeah, it's well, he's doing
There's
his like iPad drawing because so when he would guest on some of like the drink and draws that Dan Panosian would have like the a couple people actually they would have that and they would do a Friday night and stuff and he would do that but he's doing this certain like iPad drawing style that I haven't really liked. So we'll see. I don't know. We'll see. Here we go. This should have been
all
top
right.
story. This is always our
Top
top story
story. It is.
typically.
It is.
So
So we are getting Liefeld's bringing Youngblood back later this year, and in April, which technically would be the 33rd anniversary of Youngblood, almost to the date of the first Youngblood release, he's given us number one with that. He has the original art to the cover, totally recolored it with a new colorist. I don't know who actually colored that cover, but they're really good. And
one
the insides is going to be the first time they're showing the Matt Yackee colors that he did about 15 years ago. They had a hardcover, which is super hard to get. So that guy recolored Youngblood 1 through 4. So, and this is what we're getting. Joe Casey rescripted it. He kind of took the 4 issues and he really jumbled 1 and 2 together. And then he makes 3 fit better. Like it's just
Mhm.
like a Joe Casey saw an opening. He's like, I can connect this to this. Like this makes
Right.
sense. And it's a good flowing. Did you ever read Joe Casey's full Youngblood hardcover?
No, no, because it came out and I wasn't really paying attention, and then it was gone, and now it's just not available. There's
For a
no digital
minute.
of it.
No, there's no digital of the hardcover. You
Mhm.
could for a while buy the individual issues 1, 2, 3, and 4 on Comixology and Image.com. But when they had the whole rights issue with Andrew Rev and Terrific Comics, which thankfully never happened, Liefeld took them down, like
Mhm.
them digitally. But like they never made singular issues published out of that book.
Oh, I
And
see.
it's a
Okay.
shame they didn't make a hardcover digital because it's got great extras in it, including uh, Liefeld's 1987 Youngblood story colored. It's got some
Oh,
other
okay.
variants and stuff. So it's a good hardcover if you can find it. So, but hopefully in this new series, they're breaking them up individually, and I hope they keep going. Like I hope they go because I would love to see the rest of the series recolored.
Right. So
Even
you
though,
believe that this is going to be not his new colorist, not his new. He has like two new colorist guys that use it a lot.
yeah, the
On
colors
Last
on
Blood and all that.
Deadpool and Last Blood, yeah, they're really good colorists. Now I think they're just recoloring the covers. Um, it'd be cool to see it recolored. You and I had talked about like the Last Blood style coloring on old
Mhm.
Youngblood would be really fun, but I don't think that's the case. He already had a colored, and they're good colors. It's
Yeah.
neat, and it's neat to compare them to the Brian Murray Kiko
Well,
colors of the '90s. It's fun.
it's an idea. You know what I'll do? I'll do Youngblood issue one page for page, where I can do the page for page, panel to panel, and I'll do the because we're getting the big books. We're getting
Yeah,
the artist edition,
so you could
vault edition, right?
showcase, the original art,
Hmm.
the original
The
Brian
original,
Murray colors, and then these new
the
Matt
recolor,
Yackee
and then
colors.
probably digital. Which will be a little bit different. Yeah, I mean, it would have been. I mean, again, we'll see, but we
If you
think
look at
that.
if you look at my Twitter, I've been doing stuff with the covers of all the Youngbloods on my Rob Mess account. And for Youngblood 1, I had the black and white ash can. I think I had the original art, the original colors, and I put in the late 90s Liefeld had the same idea to rescript it by Eric Stevenson and have it recolored by Kiko. I don't that never came to fruition,
Mhm.
but they did have a new Kiko coloring of the Youngblood #1 cover, which
Okay,
is
okay.
on my Twitter. Maybe we'll drop it in here if you remember. If not, check out my Twitter.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
yeah,
this is the
this is cool.
this is a cool. It's a cool build up, and we think that four is probably larger because you said the issue four they had in this, they have hit number five. So
Right.
number five, when number five came out, that was a flip book to Brigade
Four.
Four,
Right. And
and it
Chap
was the
Yap
end of
finished
both
it.
storylines.
Yeah, with
Yeah,
Chap Yap.
so
But when Liefeld did the hardcover with Joe Casey wrote kind of a new ending. It's similar but different, and Liefeld drew that for the hardcover. But there's enough material out there, I think, to make a Youngblood Deluxe 5. You could use the new
mm,
Liefeld story. You could use the Troll story from Image Zero.
right,
You could
right.
use the Deathmate Red story. You could change minor things in that story, just the first 20 Liefeld pages, and it's a Youngblood story. It could be its own standalone book. And then we talked about Team Youngblood 9. Like you could make like a 100-page Youngblood 5, which is crazy, but that's all the
Well,
stuff.
well, Deathmate, like you said before, which I don't think I knew, you said in the previous episode that Deathmate happened because it was supposed to be a Bloodshot Youngblood crossover.
Yeah,
Young Bloodshot.
Liefeld called them up and said, "Hey, I like Bloodshot. It's blood. I got Youngblood. Let's do a crossover." And they're like, "Great." So Liefeld, I think, he might have started working on it. And they call him up. Valiant calls him back, like, I don't know, a month or two later. Like, hey, Jim Lee's in. And Rob Liefeld's like, what? Jim Lee's in? What are you talking about? I thought we were doing a crossover. And they created the whole Deathmate thing, which, people love now. But at the time, a lot of people were kind of dissatisfied by it. It was a lot of late books.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but they look cool. We got Gen 13, the prologue and epilogues are incredible. You got Barry Windsor Smith, inked by Jim Lee. You got Liefeld, inked by, well, Miki, but Bob Layton too.
Mhm.
You have Silvestri drawing Supreme. It's really neat stuff.
Yeah, the combos, and you have Casada in there too. Casada does the
Yeah,
epilogue, I believe. He does pieces of the epilogue.
yeah, him and Sylvester both. Supreme's got like a beard. He looks real cool. Um,
Yeah, so I mean, it's again, it's a product of its time because the tough part there is that the way that Valiant kind of pitched themselves is like, well, we're very writer focused, so it was very jarring to go, and you're like, hey, okay, Don Perlin or Mike Leake, okay, cool, like so we're seeing them
yeah,
draw very
journeyman artist,
stylized, yeah,
good. They're
and
very solid people, but like,
at
here's
the
Rob
time we
Liefeld,
didn't want that. We were like, I
and
want this, I
yeah,
want
we want
this,
more Dan Fraga or Brett Booth and Scott Clark, Silvestri doing the black and reds, and we'd read the blue and golds, and we're like, all right, this is fine, this is fine.
right. This is fine. That's about right. Yeah, that's about right. So, so we're the very non-exciting Amazing Spider-Man volume 17, 18, and whatever the heck. So I guess the one thing that I am somewhat excited for in this, if they're, it is we're going to get some JRJR stuff. This looks very, very much like the JRJR of Thor time,
Yes,
you know?
I really like
Uh,
JRJ Thor.
so this is we got some preview art of the new villain in Spider-Man 1, which and I think what's funny is they have this one page-ish and some sketchbook stuff, which is pretty cool. The so it looks very, 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 very Kirby-esque. Um it almost has like, what does he have, a hammer? Oh,
Is
he
he
has an
doing?
axe.
Who's doing the actual first issue? Pepe Larraz, I hope, or
I think it
Donald
says
Romita
both.
Jr.
I think there's gonna be, it's probably half and half. It's
Okay,
probably
they both
or
want that. They both want that number one money. I've seen some
yeah,
Pepe Larraz
that's
stuff,
okay.
and it looks really awesome.
To me, that's the new Marvel house style of that popular. It's just, I don't care about it. It's so flat to me. I don't know.
Well,
I get it.
I mean, when it's the people who originate the style, then you're happy. But it's the people who aren't Pepe Larraz doing it that's like, all right, kind of. I've seen Pepe Larraz do it better. I've
Yeah, but
seen Stuart
I
Enderman do it better. I've seen,
right.
let's go through all those
Yeah,
artists.
it is that Stuart Immonen type. But I feel like Stuart Immonen always, when he did all new X-Men, it was a step up from Ultimate Spider-Man. Like it just went like up a little more and a
He
little bit
always
more and a
he
little bit
always upped
more.
himself. Yeah, from
Hmm.
from Ultimate X-Men through Next Wave was the beginning of new Stuart Enderman, and it's just
Hmm.
been fantastic ever since.
He's retired.
Kind of, you know.
Yeah,
What's weird is he did Volume 2 of Magic Order. Like he
that's right.
does that. He does Empress with Mark Miller, which is a really good book, and then they never did a follow up to Empress.
Hmm.
I think Empress, Mark, even though I think Netflix may own it, I think Marvel took a small piece of Empress. I think at one point Marvel kind of got pissed because Miller was doing these icon books and then selling the rights. And Marvel's like, we're publishing this. We should get something. And Mark Miller was like, yeah, that's a great idea. And then he stops publishing through Marvel. Like Empress might have been his last Marvel book before he went to Image and then, Netflix.
Yeah. Hmm. I mean,
But
listen,
and Reborn as
oh,
well.
one
Or
comment that,
Rebirth.
when we talked about the other stuff just now, like I was thinking when you were talking about the Ghost Machine and how Ghost Machine put all the stuff out. There's so much Ghost Machine stuff out. It is inhibiting me from trying. Like I tried to read the Ghost Machine thing, but now there's like Hornsby and Halo, and then there's all these extra books that are coming in, Hyde Street, and I'm like, well, I never. It's like I get it. Like I'm overwhelmed by that. And also, if you think about this, the reason we even like Image and the whole concept of this is that there were no fill-ins. That was the point. And Ghost Machine, as far as I know, Geiger had a fill-in artist. I believe
Right.
there was something else. I think one or two other books had a fill-in, and it's like, like what, like, are you just making like another Marvel? The reason we don't, the reason we wanted to read this creator owned stuff is that you're not doing the stuff that's like deadline, that we can wait for it. But if you wait for it, then the sales can slip. That's always also been the thing. So there's gonna be lead
Yeah.
up time, but there's, things happen, and I don't know. So it's a little tricky. It's a little tricky in it. I just see, when we go into the reviews this week, like X-Men came out, and I'm like, where's Stegman? How many issues of Stegman? I'll have to put a percentage up.
Yeah.
Like we're now that we're at issue 10, I feel like both comic
Math.
books, like Marquez, I love math. Yeah, but I think Marquez might have done 4 out of 10, and now we have an issue come
That
out. Neto
it's
Diaz does it
Diaz.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like I'm now like liking the angles of Neto Diaz more. So when Stegman comes on, I'm like, oh, what do you? I don't. I don't want it now. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like you made me not want it. And Javier Garron, like I now almost prefer the B artists on both of those. I can name the B
Well,
artists
we don't know if
more.
Stegman's sticking around because you just named him as one of Joe Quesada's people, you
That's right.
know?
Yeah.
And,
So
Stegman, I'd love to talk to him because he had his little image book, right? Which was pretty good. And then he went back to Marvel. So I don't know if it's so good enough to stay at Image,
well,
or it's just,
wasn't that scripted by Donnie though?
yeah,
Wasn't that
yeah.
Donnie scripted? So
I
maybe
think it
that
was a
was the
Donnie
thing.
script. Maybe.
And then he probably had to finish it. I mean, Donnie does so much lifting, and then unfortunately got in, an accident and couldn't work. And he might be back. He's been on some social media stuff, so I'm not sure how much he can do. Because he had like a brain injury from this
Ugh.
car. It was a car accident. Does that sound right?
Yeah. Car
So
accidents are rough, dude.
yeah, just
It
scary
is.
stuff. So
It is.
okay,
All right.
so here we go.
I like
So
this scene when they showed it,
mhm,
but everyone freeze framed this shot.
yeah,
And I
I
don't
did.
think it's
Here
as
it is.
bad as everyone says. I see when people think the eyes look wonky. There's a hilarious comic strip that he's looking like he's following
Yeah,
Supergirl and Wonder Woman, and he's staring at their
right,
butts.
right,
It's
right,
funny.
right.
Um, to me, it just looks like he's looking up. He's
Look up
looking up.
is the name is the name. That's the slogan.
It
That's the
is. It
slogan.
is. So like, but as far as like a preview image, James Gunn should have been like, yeah, let me make it look like he's looking forward. Like maybe you should CG it or something, or just not use this shot.
You can face replace it. You can do. You mean to tell me that like on the day, and again, the thing that and it wouldn't be a week without talking about James Gunn on the news, right?
Hashtag James
And
Gunn.
and my whole thing is it's very select. If it's critical of him, he's going to answer. It's kind of if it's critical DC, he's going to answer, and then we'll talk about how he doesn't answer something else. It's kind of a big deal.
Ah,
Um, But when this came out, some people referenced this where, oh, this is the same. You have this gimbal, you have this rig,
right.
okay? And look, flying, so he did a similar shot in Guardians 3 with Adam Warlock taking off and going and then shooting around. And again, Adam Warlock unfortunately wasn't given the grace of having, I felt it was a bit shoehorned. And if probably if James Gunn wasn't fired, it might have been movie upon movie of the tease of Adam Warlock versus here's Adam Warlock. He's a baby, okay? Because that Adam
Right.
Warlock, no one really liked at all. I don't know. No one's like, oh, I love what they did with Adam Warlock. No, said zero people. However, certain shots were really good. This shot of him taking off and having the camera rig go up and around them and then up to his face, but
I feel
clearly you
like
can see he can do this shot because here's Will Poulter looking probably at a focal point, looking at whatever, looking at
he's
a you know
he's still looking
looking at a
up.
Blastar figure. He's looking at Blastar.
Oh,
Um,
he's still
boop, boop.
looking up. It just looks better because he's an alien. Like we this is Superman
We're
looks
both
a little
aliens.
uncanny valley-ish. You
Sure.
understand?
Yeah.
Even though it's real, our brains like, is it real or is it CG? Because our brains constantly looking at stuff. Is it real? Is it
Mhm.
AI? It's a constant thing, you know,
Right.
that we have to deal with now. Now with Guardians, uh, I think we're going to see more. I hope we see more Adam Warlock in the future, and hopefully he'll be better or more Adam Warlock-ish. He
I,
was just born. So I get what they're doing. I didn't hate that Adam Warlock. I loved that how he was so crazy powerful. And you
I
know
think
what?
I think it's
Maybe
weird.
you
Yeah.
needed to tap down that all powerfulness with a childhood confusion. Like
Mhm.
otherwise he's just Superman in a world that doesn't need Superman yet
Right. Right.
for
They kind
Marvel.
of did it, and what the weird thing about Guardians 3 for me is that they have two post credits, right? They have a post credit where they have Rocket and his crew. They have a
Right.
Rocket Guardians of the Galaxy, which looks cool. But why do that if there is zero plans for anything? Unless you had like an animated series on the horizon or you had something which you could have done, Disney Plus, you could have done any of that. You could have done that. That would have been fine. That would have been interesting, right? Instead, you're doing the Spider-Man show, which is retreading all sorts of different things at the same time. And I don't know if I care about it. Then you have Peter Quill home talking and says Peter Quill will return. Why? Will he? I'm not confident in that unless there was some type of contract and if there was something lined up. But all these teases, the teases that are followed through in the Marvel post credits now
Right.
are now the teases are now exceeding the actual event that never
Listen, man,
happens. And then,
Buckaroo
you
Banzai
know,
will return.
Is that
That
right?
was that's I think that
Well,
was in the
that's
credits.
funny. That's actually a Superman, right? Because Superman had two in the can, mainly in the can, right?
Yeah,
But when
yeah,
Superman ended, they would said Superman would will return, right? So like that's kind of the first thing, you know.
yeah.
Um, but of course, if someone says something on I guess Threads, right? Because he's not on Twitter, so great camera, except there's something with his face looks a little off. Displays don't refine the CG, so he took this as an offense. James Gunn says, "You said CG? There's absolutely no CG in his face. People's faces can look different when you put a wide angle lens up close," which he does use a wide angle lens. And then he's talking about the camera, and he's talking about, I guess, the setting. It's actual probably like a drone coming back through snow. Who gives a shit? I mean, to me, like to me, if it doesn't look good, it doesn't look good. I find it funny when I saw this picture and I'm just like, oh, okay, even he's sad about it. He's sad about it. Like,
Mark,
but see, as real as this looks, like, give me that. If you have the curl, do the curl. I don't feel like I'm getting this. I'm not getting
we're
this.
not getting
I'm
the
not
curl.
getting
The
enough.
curl actually would have helped shape his face a little better. And he
I
looks
don't know,
pale
man.
there. He just doesn't look good.
Looks so pale.
I know. You know what? We should make our job to try to get James Gunn to answer one of our questions. Let's you and I ask James Gunn a question and see if we can get an answer.
So the
Just think
big
of
thing he's not answering. So he has to answer this because this is about his stuff. But
right.
there's a loophole that I guess it's not Jerry Siegel, right? Jerry Siegel has kind of ongoing credit for Superboy and by arrangement by
He's
Siegel
been
family
through,
inside of
yes.
comic stuff. He's been through the litigation, but now you're saying that lawsuit this week about the foreign rights of Superman are in
Yeah.
question. So
The Schuster family,
Schuster family,
right?
right?
Joe
Yeah,
Schuster was the artist of Superman. Jerry Siegel was the writer. People just kind of forget Siegel and Schuster. Not Simon and Schuster, Siegel and Schuster. Siegel was always the writer, though he has some drawing talent, and Schuster was the artist. Siegel had kids, so his estate has been fighting. He's been fighting for Superman rights since the 40s. You know, uh, the Sugar, I guess it was the Schuster didn't have any kids, sadly. Not sadly, maybe he didn't want kids. I can't put that on him. But his siblings had kids, and that's the estate of the Schuster family. So they're fighting for international rights because international copyright law is way
hmm,
different than ours. And I think that like rights return 25 years after the death of the creator. And both Siegel and Schuster both died in the mid to early 90s. So
right.
internationally, the
And
rights might have returned to the Schuster family. So that's
yeah,
something. And Warner Brothers like, oh no, no, we own all the rights. And it's like, do you? Question mark.
right,
You
right. I
know,
don't think so.
it's
I don't think a lawyer would take this case if there wasn't like a thing.
yeah.
His lawyer's going to make so much off of it. So I think there's definitely something in play there. And you're not commenting on that, James Gunn. So again,
He will not. I
just
say, hey,
comment a blanket. Just go, we're looking into it. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
listen,
I
you
don't
and I,
know.
we are 100% behind creators. We don't. We still want our properties to be controlled by DC. You know, but like
That's so true. Yeah.
pay these guys family. You know,
Yeah, there's so much. I just feel like there's a lot of money going every which way, but to who conceived it. So there wouldn't be the intellectual property if it wasn't for the intellectual putting it out. So
yeah.
um, uh, there can be interpretations, reinterpretations, but if you didn't have the original concept, core idea, we always talk. I mean, I think the number one thing that I always kind of reference is like you when it changes medium and they do something with it is the Daredevil. We never thought about Daredevil. How does he sleep? No one ever thought about that. You know what I mean? Like, but when I saw that movie, I'm like, oh, I
No,
never thought. So when we're sitting in the audience, I'm going like, oh, that's interesting. That makes sense. How can he sleep? His probably just he can't. He has to sleep in a sleep
yeah,
deprivation.
yeah.
Sleeping like
We just
underwater
assumed we
basically.
just assumed he trained himself to sleep. But how do you get to that point? You know,
There's just a lot.
we never thought
Yeah.
about Superman on Smallville. When he was a kid, all of a sudden his hearing comes in, or his X-ray eyes come in,
Mhm.
and he that scares him. That he doesn't know what to do. He can hear everyone. That was a
Right.
media thing. Superman got what kryptonite from radio show. It got flying
Mhm.
maybe from the radio show. Uh, Jimmy
There's
Olsen.
characters. Yeah, I think Jimmy Olsen.
Like
Same thing with the '66 show, the '66 Batman. There's a lot of stuff that kind of just floats into in the actual Batman continuity. Yeah, there's a lot. Again, that's what I mean is that but this is we've always known that Superman has been the biggest short we know Jack Kirby's short money, but like this was always criminal to the point where when the first Superman, it's funny this lawsuit's coming out right around now because right, the first Superman, Neil Adams fought for Siegel and Schuster to make money and to go to the premiere and like
Oh
so
yeah,
Neil Adams was a
he
big advocate
embarrassed
for it.
he embarrassed Warner Brothers because Warner Brothers had bought DC. I forget what year they bought it, but they definitely owned it by the time the Superman movie came out because they didn't want that loophole. Like they wanted to own this. If they're going to invest into a movie, they wanted to own the IP.
Right.
So Warner
Right.
Brothers had bought DC by that point, and they were going to be embarrassed. Back when companies cared about being embarrassed, they don't care anymore. Now you can say whatever you want to, and they're like, yeah, whatever. We're stealing your identity. We're stealing your money. You know what I
Right. Right.
mean?
Right. Right. Gonna
Uh,
get a tan, gonna get a gold chain,
yeah.
gonna get a little
So
beard.
so they got embarrassed, and Neil Adams helped fight, and they were on news shows and uh, radio, and they were printing stuff out. They were just really hammering that Siegel and Schuster to get something, and DC finally came to like, here's your retirement. Now you can. I don't
Yeah,
know
but
back.
I read some of that this week, and even the retirement like sucks. It's like,
Oh,
hey,
it
you get
wasn't much.
25 grand a year. Like it was something
Yeah,
like 25 grand a year. I'm like,
yeah.
25 grand. Where'd you come up with that number? Like like I don't know where the numbers are coming from. And these guys who didn't have it,
But
wasn't there
but in
something where didn't someone
1977 money,
deliver? Yeah, but wasn't there
1977
something?
money, that's probably
Mhm.
worth like $1,000, like 100,000.
Right, but like, wasn't there something where someone did, was it Siegel or Schuster had to deliver something to DC offices?
Schuster was a messenger boy, because his eyesight was going, so he couldn't draw as quickly or as well. Um, yeah, he was a messenger boy, and he had to deliver something to the DC offices, and it was winter, it was freezing cold, and then publisher at the time, I forget his name, uh, felt bad for him and like gave him like $50. He's like, go buy a jacket. I'm like, that's all? How about, hey, come do Superman covers for us?
Right.
you know, like the
Could have been the
and it's
first variant covers.
those something.
Yeah,
Like bring
something.
the guy back, let him work inside. Yeah, they hired Jerry Siegel back in the '60s, and thank God
Mm,
they did, because Jerry Siegel started writing all the Elseworld stories that I love. Superman Red,
right,
Superman Blue, Superman going back to Krypton, Death of Superman. And sometimes he wasn't even credited.
right, right. But that strengthened him. That strengthened his lawsuit when there were so many concepts he can prove because he did a ton of stuff in Superboy. So that's why
Yes.
it states there's so much stuff in Superboy that he implemented inside. That's that. But that's all the news for me. Just more James Gunn, picky choosy stuff. You got anything else I didn't have in my lineup?
Um, oh, little things like we're getting the FF trailer Tuesday.
Oh, is
So
that right? Okay.
yeah, so by the time you're
Before the
listening
Super
to
Bowl.
this, yeah, before the Super Bowl, which is good
Huh.
because and then hopefully the trailer's more. Hopefully, usually the trailer's more than what they show on the Super Bowl commercial. Sometimes the Super
Mm.
Bowl commercial is a commercial for the trailer.
It's a
Like,
trailer. Right,
hey,
right, right.
yeah, go
Go
check out the
there.
trailer. Yeah.
Check that out.
So I'm excited.
That's fine.
Really excited to see the look of this movie. Get
Mm.
maybe we can get a good feel for the movie. See what these actors look like in
Maybe we can see
action.
what a Silver Surfer looks like.
Maybe
Girl Silver Surfer. And
Silver Surfer.
Natasha Lyonne's going to be in it.
Yeah.
Name in in phonetic only, not related. Um,
Yes. So we can't really talk about it, but next week you'll definitely hear from us our opinions. Uh,
we can
interesting.
react. We can have react video like they
There's
like they have it.
Yeah, yeah. We should have a reaction video. We tried that before. Did you ever post it?
Now I'll get to it.
That's fine. It'll movie will be out by the time you post that. There
Mm.
was rumblings online about IDW going under because they're really like just a corporately owned comic company. I don't even know if they make any money from the IDW section of it. So it's just
Right.
rumblings.
Yeah, they published their because they have to basically again, they have to publish their quarterly statement and it was negative and there's a lot of Diamond mini moves this week. There was one article I read about that they technically have to go potentially in front of a board and they have to do an accounting of the offices. And I think when I spoke previously on this, I'm like, oh boy, they do account of the offices, they're going to see how extra spendy they are, and they're going to be like, yeah, okay. And but one I read that they're just like they may just cease all operations, that they can order them to cease all operations, so everyone there's fired. It's like the 193 employees, something like that, is down there
Are
right
you talking
now.
about Diamond or IDW?
Diamond.
Okay.
But I was saying that there were all this industry relevance. But most of the stuff, the reason why this IDW report is so looked upon is that like, well, now that they were distributed by Diamond, and like everything is just so like everyone's going out of business now. Like they want to just slap that label on to
Yeah.
stuff
But
for
like,
clicks,
and
and it may not be a thing.
here's what I hate about the real world. You don't have to go out of business just because you make less money than the year before.
Mhm.
Okay. Uh, Getting personal, UPS put out their quarterly findings. UPS, the company I work for, and they're like, "Oh, we didn't meet projections." And you look, so like, "Well, we're going to cut our deal with Amazon. We don't make a lot of money off Amazon."
Mhm.
And then you look into the details, and you're like, "But we made more money than last year. We didn't make as much money as you hoped for. We made more profit than last year." So you're
Right.
saying like companies are making money, and they're like, we only made 8 or 9 billion profit. Like that's not enough for you.
Right. Right. Right.
Toys R Us went under, but they were still a profitable company. Like you work for Toys R Us. The Deptford store was an amazing, Deptford, New Jersey Toys R Us was an amazing Toys R
Yeah.
Us store, super profitable. But like they just used Toys R Us to hide their money. The company that bought it was just using it to like prop up their company and break it apart, and they just destroy these things. That's one of the things I hate about like this. And Diamond can still be a profitable company. Spiraling back to what's important. Diamond built their Mississippi warehouse, and it is a huge, up to date modern warehouse that was mostly built to do their toys and all their other stuff. It wasn't really
Mhm.
made for their comics. They were going to use one warehouse for the comics, one warehouse for the toys. And they realized, like, you know what? We can distribute just from one warehouse. We could do it. And the people who own the Plattsburgh building were like, well, you're going to leave anyway. Why don't you get out this year? So they cut the lease, forced them out. That's where some of these diamond problems with the late shipping and stuff. And now they have to reconfigure their business to do toys and comics out of the same building. Now,
Right.
diamond is
Right.
super important for two reasons now. One, for the toys. These comic stores can't make a deal with Hasbro or Mattel. They can't order enough to get the discounts. Diamond can. That's why Diamond's important. Even though getting toys from Diamond, sometimes you're getting them late, sometimes you're getting them after the store. Sometimes the price you're paying Diamond is what the store is selling the toy for. It's always
Mhm.
risky, but it's the only choice if you want to order those toys. And secondly, Diamond's important now. They have to reconfigure and just really embrace the small market, the small timers, the independent guys. If you and I want to do a comic, Diamond should be excited to do a comic through us because they don't have much else. You know, I joked with Ian on our Legends chat on Facebook. Like I wrote like a fake letter as though I were Steve Jeppy. Like, hey Ian, we'll publish your comic book now because our friend Ian had tried to get in through Diamond, and they're like, the quality of your book doesn't reach Diamond standards. So here,
Right.
like 20 years later, it was like, hey, we'll do your book now. And then I wrote
Right.
Jeppy
Right.
out.
Jeppy. Oh boy.
So, so yeah, I mean, Diamond shouldn't go under. I think comic stores still need them. And even though the other publishers, rightly so, left them because they owe them so much money. I don't know how much money they owe IDW. We saw the
Right.
list
I
last week.
remember.
We don't
Yeah.
have to bring it up, but like they owe IDW money. IDW needs it. So if IDW falters, who gets the Paramount stuff? Who gets like their hot book is Turtles, their hot book is Godzilla, their hot book is Star Wars.
Mhm.
You know, like some people would immediately say, oh, maybe Kirkman will do Turtles. Well, maybe, but Kirkman's already turned down other IP. Kirkman's done such a good job with the Hasbro IP. I hate saying
Right.
IP, the Transformers, the GI Joe, the Energon line. Other people tried contacting him first. I wouldn't be surprised if I don't know if Dynamite went after Thundercats or do the Thundercats owner go after them. Did they try to
Right.
take Thundercats to Kirkman first? I don't know. Hasbro
Right.
might not look too good on that if Kirkman takes on all these other, or maybe they don't care as long as their books are doing good. So that's a spiral out of control for that story. So I don't want to see IDW go under,
Right.
but what but
No.
what do they have?
Yeah, for me, it's all just the Godzilla stuff, Godzilla Turtles, but it's
Yeah, and
Turtles main. The Turtles peripheral, I don't care about per se. The
right,
Last
but
Ronin stuff
it's
has,
it's
has
not
been
our
sequeled
book.
out that I don't really, I'm
But
lost,
but people
you
like
know?
that. I can't complain.
Yeah.
They keep the Turtles line to 2 or 3 books a month. That's the right
Mm.
amount. Star Trek 2 or 3 books a month. People like their Star Trek books. I know Cantwell does some of them, and there are people who really like them. But like the Dark Horse would be knocking on Paramount's door so fast. You know, or
Mhm.
Dynamite. Dynamite would do. Our boy Nick would do probably a good job with those books.
Sure.
You know
Yeah.
what you get? Lisner covers, Lisner and Jay Lee covers.
That's fine by me.
You
You
know
know what I
what?
mean?
Yeah, I'll take a Jay Lee Turtles cover.
Those guys are in practice. What's kind of cool about that is like I feel like we're everyone whenever you see a Frank Miller who hasn't been around in a long time, And then he does a cover, and you're like, I don't, oh God, I don't want that. No, I don't want that. But like Jay Lee has been in practice. He may not be doing interiors that often. You know, he did I think a series maybe 2 years ago, but like
Seventh Son.
yeah, but he's been in practice as far as that. Same thing with Linsner. You know what I mean? Linsner cover. Like you never see Linsner cover like I'll pass. You don't see that. You know what I mean? Like if anything, you're like God, I'm enticed to buy that because of that. You know, this week
Yeah,
was a tough. You know, the Silverhawks this week was like that Jay Lee cover is the Inhumans homage. But even on the front, and I think I told you that when I was in one of the Dynamite offices one night, I took a picture of it. There was a Tarzan cover. It was a Jay Lee original art. And it was sitting there, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, God damn it, because I don't. It just looked. You can just see the quill and just the way like the turn, and I'm like, oh man, this is crazy looking. You know, you can see the pencils underneath. Like he's just one of the best uh, cover artists now. Um, so different in style than Hellshock or
yeah.
what I see this
Which
week. I saw something this week that was,
which he
oh,
can't do that style. He's like, I don't know how I drew like that.
there
Like
was
he can't
a
see it.
cover. There was it was a Hot Shots. Remember Hot Shots, which was like a fold out poster book, and it was
Yes.
posters of
Yeah.
other art. But there was a Jay Lee pinup in one of those things. I'll find it, put it in.
Oh, it's
But that
so
was
good.
in.
Um,
Yes, but I remember that. I'm like, oh man, that's not anywhere. There's a lot of art around that time that we needed to do like a whole like lost art. You know, I sent you the one time when I was looking through this old G.I. Joe comic and it had like a Joe Madureira like Destro in it. I'm like, what the heck is this? You know, I just posted a couple weeks ago Cobra Commander Neil Adams drawing. How did that happen? It was in like G.I. Joe 121 or something crazy. You know, it was in way out there, you know.
check
So
out Steve Oliff, his Facebook page. He's been going through like some of his old stuff, and he's been finding like I guess he's like finding some of his prelims, or whatever.
for armature,
Yes, for Armature, but he found this one Jay Lee Chapel page. So like he wants to sell the prelim, so he's actually been taking those prelims and like touching them up and then selling them. Not
hmm.
they're not quite original art, but they're still cool looking. And I just sent you in chat. Hopefully you'll share them with the people.
Cool.
A Jay Lee Chapel page that he touched up, and it's like from Youngblood Strike File, and it's so just badass looking. It's like I wish that Jay Lee could do this just for fun. Just give me projects where you do this. He touched up a lot of pit pages too. And
Oh
Steve
wow.
Oliff colored Youngblood 4. We had talked about like who colored Youngblood 4? Steve Oliff,
Oh yeah, that's
Optics.
right.
So yeah, it's
All the optics, baby.
just a badass chapel picture.
Yeah, that's
Um,
insane.
it is insane, man. Like that's 90s. That's the stuff we love. I still like modern J Lee, but boy, do I miss old J Lee. We
Yeah,
can we
what?
can do both.
Yeah, all the spikes off of stuff. Like, what's happening? You know, there's off the gun, off of all sorts of stuff.
It's insane looking. The
Yeah,
white lightning cracking behind it, the spikes on his calves, the spike off the gun, the
yeah,
the
off his
jacket.
shoulder blades. Yeah, it's his
Yeah,
jacket, but he doesn't have it over here. He doesn't have it. You know, I don't know. That's awesome.
it's
That
fun,
is
and
it.
it's fun. You look at the brick wall, and you're like, it gets turned into a comic, and it looks great. I guess it's all marker. This is all marker, and then he scans it in, and then I guess touches up on a computer, which probably took forever back in 1991. 90. No, this is probably 93.
Mm,
Yeah, man. Youngblood Strike File.
I love it.
I do, and it's a good way to, I guess, end the news for the week. I think that's it for me. You know,
And the news. We did it again. We did it again. News time, everybody.
so
Stay tuned for Reviews Day. Lots of
that'll
good stuff this week. Reviews Day, and then we're gonna have some evergreen stuff we're gonna try to work on. Have
yeah.
that stuff in the
Check us out
heavy
later in the
edit. Want a
week.
heavy edit now? That one's gonna be a crazy one.
So
So
do all the usual YouTube. Hey, like, smash that like button, subscribe,
like
comment.
it, subscribe.
Tell us what you
Yeah,
like.
comment through. You
Tell
know
us
what
what
you
you
can
hate.
do? Here's what people can do. This is what you can do. Go in and just start the playlist and then just leave your computer for and just let everything run through completely. Apparently
Yep,
that's a big thing. The length of time that will show up on other people's feeds. So just leave it. Just play it and oh, let's see my one cat in the background. It's funny.
you should make
Um,
you should make a secret account, Mark, based off your
yeah.
secret email, and just like play it. Just play it
Yeah,
all.
I don't know if it counts my own, but I've done that before where I'll put it on playlists and then I'll just go to work and it runs like because now it's like episode 33, 34. I don't know. We're up there, because we shoot and then I, break it up over 2 to 3 episodes. So, but yeah, let's cut it and then we'll be back soon for a reviews day.